So today we're going to be discussing another band that I haven't discussed previously on the channel. And the band's going to be called The Frozen Crown. They've released two albums so far. The genre that they consist of is power metal. Now, this video is going to be different because even though I am basically saying my opinion of the band, I'm basically given using this band to state my overall kind of thoughts and opinion on the genre of power metal, at least for most of it, at least. So basically, just starting off, Frozen Crown is the kind of typical power metal. So there's kind of these kind of things that you kind of cover in some power metal bands. So one, you need lyrics, which are about dragons, mystical things, Vikings, fighting and everything, and magical powers, witches, wizards, and all sorts of things like that. So in a lot of power metal bands, lyrics are always about storming castles and dragons and all of this type of thing, and all the lyrics are all like this. So there's loads of power metal bands out there that all follow this consistency with lyrical writing. Now, some people are okay with this. Some people kind of like hearing about storming castles and dragons and fighting with their swords and shields and type of things. And that is obviously fine if you like that and appreciate that. Like, if I were to have heard an album for the first time and they were talking about dragons, storming castles, and things, I wouldn't be too fussed about that. But the problem here is basically the fact that so many bands do this. It's kind of like the problem with love songs in other bands where it's another one of these love songs. I've heard it before. If it was done like once or just the odd amount of times a love song, it would be more appreciated than basically every band has one, because then it becomes extremely stale and there's nothing unique about it. It's done by a different band, but it doesn't exactly kind of change how the song really kind of sounds and comes across because of what the lyrics are doing. So this is kind of the problem I have with power metal for the most part because it always has this kind of lyrical content, and it doesn't really hit home. Like you can't connect with it really because who out there has really experienced seeing a dragon or fighting with a sword? So other lyrics where it basically kind of talks about the world, the universe, the state of the planet, government, and just things we can connect with. Therefore, we have an impact, or basically just like suffering with depression, overcoming it. A lot of people have these things, but trying to kind of have an emotional connection to a power metal song, it doesn't really work. It's basically just like the story of the song. But then again, as I've said, lots of bands do this story. So it gets quite boring because you hear it all the time. And for a lot of people, these kind of lyrics are extremely cheesy. I storm the castle, riding my dragon, dragon fire, breathe down, rain upon you, kiss my shoe, and things. I know none of that rhymes. I'm not trying. I also can't rhyme really. But yeah, it's just they are quite cheesy, and it's done a lot. But other than that, you have all the musical stuff. Now, with power metal musically, they are actually quite gifted. You get great guitar solos and amazing technicality. Like, take Dragon Force, there's a lot of talent there, although it is all just of one kind. Therefore, you can argue how much talent that band has. But technically, it is a wide range of talents. But again, power metal does follow this kind of pattern of musically copying each other. And with this, it's basically just like there are kind of riffs and effects and sounds and patterns that musically kind of keep copying each other. And this is again a problem. So lyrically, we've got all this lyrical content we can't emotionally really connect with, and lyrical content which is extremely cheesy as well and silly, and it's been heard a bazillion times, therefore it's unbelievably stale. Now we have musically a sound which has similar rhythms and styles and patterns, which makes that quite dull and boring also. And then some tracks they start with the dun 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 dun, which is the way a few of the songs in Frozen Crown use. And it's just like, this is typical power metal. So it's like, wow, this isn't cool, this isn't interesting, this isn't unique. It's just, wow, I've heard this a million times before. And that really pulls me out. And then they talk about dragons, it's like, this is cheesy, I've heard it before, pulls me out. What differentiates Frozen Crown, really, from a vast range of other power metal bands? Now, if I was to give it a fair kind of, because I can't just use all my opinions, I have to kind of be fair. So let's basically think about this. What makes Frozen Crown different to that of other power metal bands? So let's think about this. So what's different? Well, the vocalist is different because obviously all vocalists have different kind of voices and ranges and things and sounds. So vocally, it's different. But then the argument is the lyrics are still the same and it's still sung in a similar way and pattern. Sometimes the rhythm is good, like listening to Frozen Crown. Let's just say Frozen Crown singer is a female, and she's amazingly great. She's an incredible singer, has an awful lot of energy and power, and just there's a lot of energy and power to her, and she sounds amazing. She has good range and everything, so she sounds great. But again, some of the songs start with that dun 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 with her voice in the band. It's just like, okay, I'm not getting anything unique or special from you. I'm completely kind of like shut out at this point. Other times there are rhythms that do kind of work, and it is kind of interesting hearing her voice go with it. But again, it's too similar. So even though it's like she has a different voice, and I like the voice, it doesn't take away the fact that the voice is taking elements of other certain things that are really, there's a lot out there. So it's just extremely diluted, this kind of thing. But yeah, she's great. Guitarist, you have two lead guitarists in this band. One's a guy, one's a girl. She's quite young as well. I think she's around the age of 18, maybe 19. So that's kind of cool. A young girl, that's interesting stuff. And obviously, they put their kind of emotion into the song as well, and then how they kind of play and strength and everything. Sometimes women can sound different playing a guitar than a man's because men sometimes have a bit more kind of strength to bend strings, and women. This is kind of sexist, but there is a YouTube channel out there where he was blindfolded and actually listened to men and female, and he would have to guess who's playing, and he only got one wrong out of about 15, and he always knew what the woman was, and he would say that it's basically kind of the bending or the kind of just basically bending of the string. When a woman does it, it sounds different to a man. So different sexes will sound different with what they're able to do on the guitar as well as their emotional connection. So basically saying because these people are different to other people in the genre, their emotions and the way they approach a solo will be different. But again, they're still playing in a genre that has a sound and a vibe to it, and they have to obviously stick to it, because if the whole album has a vibe and then all of a sudden they go off completely somewhere else and do something that sounds like Sinister Gates or something out of Iron Maiden, it's not going to fit. So they're trapped in this bubble of just, this is all we have. Cheesy lyrics, a vibe, and everything, power metal kind of intros and all these certain things, which makes everything extremely bland. But with Frozen Crown, because I am kind of reviewing them at the same time, they do some certain things different. So in the new album, Crowned in Frost, they do this new thing. I don't exactly know what the track is, but I do know there's two tracks where they do something new. And it's bloody awful, and they could have actually done without it, because they do actually take the power metal element out and they turn into screamo. So an entire verse absolutely full of screaming, and it sounds like death metal. It's not following the vibe of power metal anymore. It's just death metal. It's just like, this sounds ridiculous, and people who are into power metal and the vibe of this are not going to appreciate death metal. I do know when Dragon Force did it in their new album, when the lead singer started screaming, a lot of people just said it was incredibly stupid. That it was. So in here, some people will obviously like it, but overall, I just think people are not going to appreciate this because it's a whole bloody verse, and it's you could argue, well, it's just two songs and it adds variety. And I keep talking about variety. It's good to have variety in the music, but it's just with power metal, you have talented guitarists, talented singers, and screaming with people who are fans of power metal isn't really considered a talent. It's just kind of noise, and that's how I view it myself. So people who are into screamo don't really listen to power metal. People who listen to power metal, just power metal kind of thing, don't really appreciate the screaming. And again, it's just we get all this cheesy lyrics and vibes and sounds, and all of a sudden it goes completely death metal and just sounds kind of odd because it's not natural. And you're saying, well, you keep asking for variety, so now you don't like it and you think it should all stick with the same vibe. Well, no, it's just there's a way to go about it. Like, take Avenged Sevenfold, Iron Maiden, Hex Solaris in their newest album. Um, they keep changing the sound, so they're not completely nailed down to one bloody thing. So when they change, it's just inconsistency basically, and it's just odd and it's not normal. Maiden doesn't have, and they have the core sound. So does Avenged Sevenfold, and so does the Solaris, but they're not nailed down to one complete tribe or something and just thing. They have variety. So if they do something piano based, that's not surprising. If they do something really heavy, that's not surprising. If they bring keys in, it's not surprising. Choir, not surprising, because they keep changing. You can't nail them down to a certain thing. The previous Frozen Crown album, as well as this one for the most part, it's just fundamental all the time power metal. So going to this death metal thing, it's not normal. I can do a better comparison. Take the band Unleash the Archers. They're a power metal band, but they have had screaming since the start, and they don't even hammer it in. You never really get an entire verse from them. It's basically just a small section and part. So it's always the power metal, but it's like the screaming is basically just a little kind of flavoring just put on the side. As for making a whole verse of it, it becomes a bit more of a kind of core element. Unleash the Archers don't do that. Also, when they do scream, it's not really odd because it's always been there. It's what they do. And with the new album Apex telling a concept and everything, changes it up a slight bit. Obviously, there is a bit more kind of range because they use the screaming and they kind of use not power metal tribes. Lyrically, it's power metal and vocally, it's power metal. But musically, it's kind of like just typical heavy metal, death metal type of stuff. So they kind of have that. So they have two separate things joined, as with Frozen Crown, as I've said. It's all power metal, so it's just not right to change it because they're stuck now. If Frozen Crown was to make the third album and it actually did start changing and doing all these new things, it would be good if it's all in with the same album, but it will be a bit of a pain for fans of the band because they've been something consistent. So if they do a third album and go completely out there, it's going to be a lot more harder to kind of start branching off because they're stuck, kind of. So this is the thing with Frozen Crown. They have great solos, a bit short, which is kind of weird, seeing that they have two guitarists, but only one guitarist goes at a time instead of one guitarist then to the second guitarist. And then, as I say, the guitarists are quite short in their solos, which is quite disappointing, really. And also, that kind of sucks. The vocalist, she has an incredible voice. Her voice is amazing. And because of the energy that the power metal kind of brings and everything, there is a lot of energy, and it's just her powerful voice with the great rhythms and everything, with all the kind of energy, and a few leads kind of sprinkled throughout in verses and everything, just to kind of heighten the kind of sound and everything. Um, it's just great energy, and it sounds epic and amazing at times. But then other times it's really too intense on power metal, and other times it's like if I'm not listening to the lyrics and it has a kind of decent rhythm and everything, I just kind of drown myself out into that kind of thing. But if I was to follow with the lyrics, that will pull me out because they're so cheesy and because it's quite bland now. Because trying to put a number on it, there's probably millions, thousands of bands out there who do this thing all the time. Dragon Force do it, Unleash Archers do it, this band does it. I don't know anything else, but that's usually because I avoid this type of stuff. So if I have to rate this band, it's hard because you have two incredible guitarists, you have an incredible singer, and you have great energy. But with all that, they do everything wrong with their approach because lyrically, there's nothing new, there's nothing unique. I can't really score them for originality when they've been doing something that has been done years and years ago, like in back in the 80s, and they haven't evolved on it or changed. It is exactly the same. And then there's thousands of other bands that do the exact same thing. The only thing changing them up is basically if they have different amps, different guitars, the people playing them will have different emotion they put in, but technically it has to sound and have the same vibe. Lyrically, it's all the bloody same, and then just different voices. But they all in power metal are supposed to have power, so it's still kind of the same. No matter how hard you try, they all stick in this kind of mud and they can't get out. They're just trapped in this stale state that is what has become a power metal. There's so many heavy metal bands out there, like you got Iron Maiden, the heavy metal, Avenged Sevenfold, the heavy metal. Some people say it's rock, I consider them metal, and you got Solaris, which is kind of like heavy metal, and you got Borealis, which is like metal. Bullet, God knows what they've done, but there's so many bands that are metal, and they all sound different from each other. So people saying, well, it's a genre, so everything in a genre sounds the same. Well, no, it doesn't. Because in heavy metal, it's all metal. It's all vastly different from each other, but it's still metal. So they have aspects which makes them the same, but it doesn't mean they have to follow in the same steps, which is what power metal does. It's just there is so much similar with power metal bands. And then with metal, there are similarities, of course, but there is a lot of versatility going on in that category. And power metal hasn't exactly done it. Now, there are bands, as I say, out there who are power metal and they do actually do something different. So, Firewind is power metal, but they have more of a kind of unique sound and take, and then Gus G is a phenomenal guitarist, so they kind of change it up a little bit. Unleash the Archers, even though the new album Apex does follow with an immortal being and immortal beings, and then they go to war and everything. Yeah, that's still power metal type of lyrics, but the fact that it's a concept that tells a story is not following a cheesy thing. It's a narrative like Lord of the Rings or something. It's not just there was a dragon and then I flew off and did this and that's each track. It's just no, it's a narrational story that has kind of emotion in it and things you can actually connect with because the immortal being is isolated. He feels alone. We can connect with that. We can emotionally invest ourselves to that. And then he fights people who the guy he's trying to find is hiding behind an army. He won't come out and fight with the army. He'll just use men and send them all to their death in order to protect him. When the immortal has nothing against these people, the only person he has is the one behind the army. We can connect with that with what goes on these days. government sending people out and terrorists and everything, sending people to their death, but they won't do it themselves. They hide behind all these people in cowardness. So we can relate. And then there's people who can manipulate lies and trick people to do their own way, but actually they're just like snakes. There are people like that today. We can connect with that. So even though it still has the lyrical kind of concept of power metal, we can actually emotionally connect with this now, and it tells a story. And then the screaming is a character. So it's not just screaming for the sake of screaming; it's a character. And Unleash the Archers have used screaming since the start, and it's not heavily in there. It's just subtly in some songs to carry this character and narration, which adds the versatility, and it fits because it's always been there. So power metal can be different, and there are power metal bands out there that don't sing about bloody dragons and things, but they're still power metal. You can change and still be power metal. That is capable because it's been proven. But it doesn't change the fact that there is so many singers out there that do follow this pattern. Frozen Crown and others that I don't listen to because I don't like it, so I can't tell you. But there are thousands out there. And it's unfortunate because a lot of them are talented and they have great singers, but how can you get into it when all of them sound exactly the same? You can't emotionally connect with the lyrics. The lyrics are cheesy in the first place. The lyrics have been done a bazillion times before. The vibe and sound that they're going for all sounds exactly the same as each other, so you can't really, there's nothing unique or special about it. And then all of this coming together just makes a lot of repetitive crap, which is unfortunate. So yeah, going back, how the hell can you review Frozen Crown when you have two great guitarists, great rhythms at times, and good leads throughout songs, and a great vocalist as well? And then everything else is completely flawed beyond belief. Should I be given, because everything is not original, everything's exactly the same, nothing's new or special, therefore it's quite dull and boring, should I be rating it something like a 2 or a 3 when basically given a 2 to vocalists and guitarists that good? I feel that's not fair on people with such talent, even though they use it in a bad way in their approach. So it's quite difficult. So with Frozen Crown as a band, I'd probably have to just give them a 6, a 6 out of 10. So why? Well, technically it is above average because the singer is amazing. She is absolutely incredible. The two guitarists are great. Unfortunately, the solos are a bit too short and everything, which still isn't helping them. But there is energy there. So some tracks you do kind of get lost into it, and it's just like this is so much fun. Her voice is just so powerful and has such energy, and then the kind of nice leads throughout the song, this elevates sound and everything, and the energy of everything makes everything fun and an enjoyable listen. So that is there. There is enjoyment. There is talent. There's fun and energy. That is there. Then as you keep going, it just starts getting stale, and then more tracks it hammers it in a lot more than others, and then you get them stupid screaming things where it just completely kills absolutely everything. It completely just shreds the boringness of what they got and just makes rubbish at the end. So it's incredibly unfortunate with the screaming and the fact that they are kind of stuck in this way. So it's above average because you do have a good singer, good lead, and you can have fun with it. But overall, it just gets boring. You can listen to the odd 1 to maybe 3 tracks, but then after that, you pretty much heard everything. There's nothing new. It's like Dragon Force. All they are is shred. That's all they do. lyrically, they are all the same and they're all cheesy and you can't emotionally connect. They have a sound and a vibe. And that's why a lot of people don't like Dragon Force. It's exactly the same here. It's a pattern that bands don't break from. Dragon Force have a pattern, they never change. People are fed up with them. Power metal, lyrics, vibe, sound, some tropes that power metal bands copy and everything. So why would you not get fed up with this if you can get fed up with Dragon Force? Technically, you should, because we've heard it all before, and it gets boring. So yeah, pros and cons for both albums and the band overall, they're above average. If you really like power metal and you don't mind all of this, then obviously they are really good, and it could probably go up to about an 8. Is great because they're the vocalist and the guitarist. If you can get over absolutely everything, but if not, and seeing it from my point, then it's 6. It's above average because the singer and the guitarist, and then there is some fun to be had, but overall, there's not much there. So yeah, like average, just above average, and that is about it. Power metal needs to kind of start changing because it's becoming extremely stale and quite boring. So that is basically my talk on the band Frozen Crown and mostly power metal as a whole. So going on from here, I uploaded a video recently that I deleted because I had false information. Not that I wanted to spread false information or anything. I thought I had correct information. I thought it kind of made sense. I didn't really think about it. I just kind of thought I have information. This will be a good video for me, as well as the band I was discussing. But then once kind of hearing that it was false and then thinking about it, it's just like, yeah, this is really, really bad what I've done. So I've deleted that, but there is something big coming. And some people may kind of guess and have assumptions, but I'm not going to say what I'm going to be doing. So I'm just basically saying there is something big coming down the line if it works. So you have that to look forward to, whatever it may be, and if it happens, because it may do, but don't know. But it most likely will. So look forward to that, and I hope you enjoyed the video. If you disagree with me, obviously that is fine, but I do believe the points I made are valid. So just something to think about. So thank you for listening. Thanks for being understanding if you are capable of that. And yeah, get ready for the next video. If the special thing will be the next video, and if not, just get ready for something special coming, basically. So yeah, there's something to look forward to because it will be a real cool and big thing. So until then, I'll see you later, guys and girls. I should just say see you later, everyone, instead of being sexist. But I say guys a lot, so I'll try and get out of that. So I'll see you later, everyone. Bye.